uh, good timing. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Another episode of Propping Up on Gold Boys Network. I'm GriffyBets, joined by Walla. Brought to you by Boom and Pickett. So thank you to both of them. Another small slate. It feels like these Monday, Wednesday shows, maybe we should have went back in time and scheduled these shows for Tuesday, Thursdays when we had more hockey games on. But I think the three games kind of work well for the show. We can give each of them a little bit more attention. Maybe find some things we might miss on a more packed slate. So should be a fun night. I certainly got some plays. How you doing, Wall?
Good. Yeah, I think these are a few good games, especially, the last one looks like there's a lot of good angles, could be a lot of fun. So, despite it being a small slate, um, yeah, there's still a good amount of things that I feel like you could play here. So, I think we can look in, find some good stuff to highlight. I think it should be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. How's your week been going? I'm a little upset that Florida couldn't find a third goal last night. Screwed me out of like a plus 550, which would have really been nice. Um, so I'm still a little angry about that. But how's your week been?
Yesterday was pretty good, actually. I feel like I could have probably fired away on more plays than I did. Seemed like there was a lot of guys coming through. Had Matthews. I didn't pull the trigger on Riley. I saw a bunch of people on him, and he went crazy. So yeah, there's some
My
good.
God, I feel so. I mean, I feel great for betting him, but I feel so dumb for only putting a half unit on his 2.5. It's like, damn, yeah, I was right, but I feel like they're too conservative, maybe.
Yeah, it happens. I didn't even play anything. I just played Matthews, which he still did good. But yeah, it felt like a good day, a day where a lot of people to put in the research, and just one of those days where everything kind of clicked and made sense. It was a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited in the home stretch here. Um, uh, there's a ton of games tomorrow. There's no games Friday, which is fine by me. Get a complete day off before we get again all 32 teams playing Saturday. If we don't get some profit boost from DraftKings on Saturday, I'm going to be pretty upset. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, need a stepped up
Uh,
parlay.
seriously, just a smooth like 16 leg parlay, one pick from each game.
So simple.
All right, let's jump right in. Why don't we start with Calgary, Winnipeg? I think this one, I mean, about as high stakes as it gets. Calgary's got 4 games left. Winnipeg has 5 games. Winnipeg is 2 points ahead of Calgary in the standings for that final wild card spot. So, uh, needless to say, both teams are going to want this game. Seattle's 5 points above Winnipeg, so they're starting to comfortably set themselves in the playoff race. So it's really probably Winnipeg or Calgary here is the final spot in the West. I mean, Nashville's lurking. Again, I think I mentioned it Monday. Nashville's a team I think I'm going to be excited about maybe getting a future in on them next year if they can make some additions, because these guys have been stepping up without Forsberg, Duchesne, and Yossi, which is crazy that they're still in the mix. But I'm expecting kind of a playoff-esque kind of atmosphere here, kind of a tight one in terms of goals. And I do like Calgary for shots. I think, especially coming off an embarrassing loss last night to Chicago. They're as desperate as it comes. They're typically good for 35 plus, and they've got 35 shots in both games against Winnipeg this year. So I was comfortable looking there for some Calgary shots. And I don't hate the under here because historically these teams play pretty tight games, and I think the stakes make it even more tight tonight. So that's my view of the game.
Yeah, I mean that. I think you covered a lot of good points there. In this one, I think, like you said, you could look for some shots. Um, there's a few guys who stand out more than others. I was actually a little surprised to see uh Toffoli up at that 3.5 line here. Um, Figured he would be at 2.5, maybe juice. So they bumped him up to 3.5 for those shots. But I know you're liking that price. It's very, very tempting there. Plus 140. Um, yeah, talk about a guy who's been consistent with his volume for how long now? At least 30 games. I'm looking back at his chart. Been very solid with his volume. So, if you're thinking shots, uh, definitely if he was down at that 3 line, that feels safe. But the volume makes that price very tempting in this matchup.
Yeah, I went for it. Looks like it's now plus 140. I got it at plus 142 on FanDuel this morning. Yeah, I mean, I just saw a couple things. I mean, last 3 games, 6, 3, and 5 shots. On the road, he's over 3.5 in 3 of his last 4. I mean, he's leading the team in shot attempts, and he's got 4 shots in both games against Winnipeg this year. And we might be starting to sound like a broken record, but this shot attempts filter on Prop.Cash I'm finding to be very helpful to raise the confidence level. I mean, you see Toffoli's averaging over 7 attempts per game. He has 5 in both 5 and 8 in the 2 games against Winnipeg. You even move him up to just 5 shot attempts this year, and he's over 3.5 in 62% of games that he's gotten 5 attempts, which has been 52 of them. So I see that, and I see a plus 142 price, and that just seems like the right time to jump, especially given all the other situations. I mean, them being desperate, and him hitting against them before seemed worth a jump to me.
Yeah, that filter does make it it really puts things in perspective. It's been there the whole time, I think, and I've looked at it. I've looked at just raising it a bit, but never really got too in depth with when might be the time to pull the trigger on looking at that as a reliable piece of information. But lately, there's been some really interesting spots that I've been able to find using that tool. I think that one right there is really solid. That hit rate jumps when he gets those, just even like you said, just bumping it up to 5 attempts there uh, makes it jump so much. And you can also come in here and lower the filter to see like his efficiency in those games. So it's been really cool. So if he can get between, you know, over 5, if he can get to where he's been averaging 7, some of these games 8 attempts, then he has a really good shot here, and you can see it right in the dashboard and the statistics. So that one stands out. I think the first one we talked about was like McKinnon the other day. You could just see um, if you're feeling confident that there's going to be attempts going around, then you can find a more accurate view of that player in that situation. So that's a good one there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just been a really helpful resource that I'm excited to keep playing around with. Otherwise, I think Lindholm looks okay. He's plus money at 2.5. He's got 4, 5, and 3 in his last 3 games, some solid volume. I thought moving Backlund down to 3, or no, did he get bumped down? I don't know. Backlund at 3 is usually a safe bet. He had 8 last time. He saw Winnipeg.
A really reasonable price. It says minus 135 for
yeah. Maybe he opened there. Maybe it was probably just last night. I'm thinking about he was at 3.5 and looked much better at 3. And sure enough, he landed on 3.
Yeah, that's a nice price for him.
I should probably mention we're still close, but we're not best friends anymore. Mackenzie Weegar. I do have to. I mean, the 2 games prior where he had 6 and 5, Vancouver and Anaheim are both really great defenseman targets. The Blackhawks are not, surprisingly, for how many shots they allow. So I was kind of just on a run that I felt like I had to keep going. He had 1 shot on 3 attempts. Winnipeg is very tight to defensemen as well. So I'm gonna say a brief goodbye to Weegar. maybe the schedule will let me jump back in. But I'm going to take the night off from him after what happened last night and given how tight the Jets are to defensemen.
Yeah, that was a disappointing one. I'm sorry. I played him, so I probably ended that streak there. I tried to jump on, and pulled everybody down. That was my bad.
That's all right. Just Venmo me or something.
Sorry, I was looking at Backlund. I'm really tempted even at that price or at 3 shots because I'm just looking. He's still getting 5 attempts recently, which when he was going crazy for a while, it was 6, 7 more attempts. But using this filter,
It's a lot of overs with 5 attempts.
you go to, or but not even just that. So you go to 5 attempts, right? And that's a 91% hit rate. So if
That's
he can just
crazy.
get 5 attempts, it's really solid. But even if I bring the filter down and take out any massive games, if I put him on games where he ends just 5 exact attempts, he has an 83% hit rate. So, lands on 5 attempts, still really solid chance he gets 3, and then anything after that, obviously just helps even more. So that's a really tempting one at that price. He's got 5 attempts in 8 of his last 10 games, and he's hit in 7 of his last 10. He had 8 the last time they were in Winnipeg. It's a good it's a good spot if you don't mind -135 for Backlund, who's been higher prices and stuff. But if you believe he can get like the 5 attempts in this matchup, that's really interesting to me. He's very, very good with that volume.
Yeah, that's solid. On the flip side, yeah, I mean, I definitely expect Calgary to be desperate and getting their usual flow of shots off. Hellebuck saves could be a nice pivot if you'd prefer that angle. He's got 32 or more in 3 straight against Calgary, so it'll be interesting where his line opens up. That's sub 30. That seems like a nice number to jump on. And I don't hate the under here, like I mentioned. I moved it way up to 7.5 and took its under and paired it with Edmonton Anaheim over 6.5. But I mean, they haven't gone over 6. They haven't gone over 6.5 in 12 straight games against each other. They haven't gone over 7.5 in 15 straight. But those 12 straight, they're averaging 5 goals per game between the two of them. So a ton of low scoring games lately. And in a game, I could see just things tightening up a bit and the goalie stepping up. Definitely don't hate the under here.
Yeah, I would. I'm probably not going to be looking for too many points or anything in this one. I like that the shots angles, and I can see them stepping up, like you said. Definitely has that playoff vibe.
Should be a good game though. Is there anything else? I did not look at Winnipeg at all, despite it being small. They haven't gotten many shots off against Calgary in these meetings, and Calgary's only letting up 26 on the road. So I'm not trying to force anything.
But your guy, Ehlers, I mean,
that's true. His volume is ridiculous.
And 4 in his last 2 against Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going someone,
I know
it's
it's a
probably
tough
him.
opponent, but that volume is awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder what Ehlers Backlund teach to get 3 would be on FanDuel.
It would be beautiful. That's what it would be.
Yeah, that's a good flag. That guy is just ripping shots right now. So him at 2.5 reasonable is I mean, someone's gonna get some shots off. Let's see what that would be.
What, the combo?
Man, I mean, even Ehlers to Foley each to get 3 is plus 153. That's that's pretty good. Toffoli's minus 165 at 3.
Yeah, that is good.
Ehlers Backlund plus 175. Fine. Throw Toffoli in for plus 345.
What are
Yeah,
their
I
prices
mean,
at 2? I'm just curious, like how juiced are they at 2? few of these guys.
I mean, bad. Ehlers minus 560. Foley minus 520, Backlund minus 440. That gets you to minus 116. Those three to get two.
How does that lose?
If one of them didn't get two, it would lose. I think.
Shoot, I didn't think about that. You're right.
Just
whoops, that didn't cross my
mind. Yeah, I mean that seems pretty solid though.
Yeah, if you like those alt line parlays, that's a solid price there for some steady guys.
All right, let's jump to the other early game. Tampa and New York Rangers. I mean, so Brian Elliott's what the hell? Brian Elliott was it's Vasilevsky. What a shot to the heart. But Brian Elliott was likely and they just switched it back.
Oof.
Unless this is an old
about that one.
Well, that's tough. Anyway. I definitely like the Rangers side more for shots. And I liked them much more for goals when Brian Elliott was in net. But even with Vasilevsky, Tampa's been pretty loose to goals, especially on the road. And just from a pure motivation standpoint, Rangers far more motivated here. Tampa's pretty much secured. I mean, they're playing Toronto round one. Not sure if they can. Yeah, I mean, they're 6 points back. They're probably going to be on the road to start that series. While the Rangers outside chance at maybe hopping the Devils. So I prefer New York there from that perspective. But I think their shots look very good. Tampa's allowing, I think, 33 on the road last 10. So
yeah, Tampa's been fine target. Yeah, I think that you can definitely look at the Rangers here, especially from earlier on. You know, Tampa's loosened up, so I think that's a very solid target. There's a good sample size to look at for these teams, so that's always nice to see. I hadn't locked anything in from this game yet, but yeah, I was looking at Mika's points. I was looking at that against Tampa, and then I noticed that pretty much all of them are goals. So that stood out to me when I thought that there was a different goalie in net. Still looks pretty good, though.
No, yeah, I did. So I don't know if it's for everyone, but I got a 50% goal scorer boost for this game on FanDuel. I did use it on Mika. I mean, he's got a goal in 10 of his last 14 at home. 3 in 2 games against Tampa this year, and he has got 7 goals the last 5 times the Lightning have come to town. So with that boost, I think I got it up to plus 278. That just seemed like a no-brainer to throw a half unit on. Obviously was more excited about it with Elliott, but I was planning on playing it either way. So, oh well. But the guy loves Tampa and he's rolling, especially at home. So, yeah, that price, I'm in.
He's been awesome lately. I mean, even with what is it? It looks like less shot. Yeah, way less shot volume. Been super efficient with it with the goals.
But man, when the last 3 games against Tampa, admittedly before Kane and Tarasenko joined, guys got 9, 12, and 10 attempts against the Lightning. It'll be interesting if that remains with some of their new pieces, but guys ripping shots against them.
What a fall from the beginning of the season for him, but he's still making good use of it.
I love Jacob Trouba's shots today. That might be my favorite play. Famous last words, but I mean, a couple of reasons. First of all, guy loves Tampa. He's over 2.5 in 6 straight. He's got 6 and 4 in the 2 games this year. Lightning allowing the 6th most to defensemen. And at home, Trouba's been real solid. 7 of his last 9 games he's hit. And this is another example. Let me try and remember what I was doing here. But just trying to project some attempts. So he's got 4+ attempts in 8 of his last 9 at home against Tampa. He's got 5 or more attempts in 7 of his last 8. So let's just conservatively project Trouba for 4 attempts. When he gets those 4 attempts, he is over 2.5 in 70% of his games this year, which is 50 total games, and at home that jumps up slightly to 74%. So plus 120. Given all those factors, I'm loving Trouba today.
Yeah, and he has a 50% hit rate when he lands on 4 too. So for a defenseman, that's real solid.
I just love Trouba. I feel like must be giving me Kopitar vibes because those 4 hits against Tampa last year all in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think I do remember just blindly losing Trouba the first 2 games. I said, screw this, I'm going back to him. And then he hit the next 4 to deliver for me. And he kept it going this year. So I'm down for it again.
Yeah, if you can get that kind of playoff feel, he's been stepping up against them in a good amount here. Solid volume. In the first few games where he didn't hit against them last season, he really wasn't shooting much. So when he gets that volume, he's pretty good. And like I said, for a defenseman, more seems to be more efficient than most of these other guys we look at have way more misses in there. So that's nice to see him being good with the shots.
Is there anything else you're looking at this? I didn't, similar to Winnipeg, I didn't really look at Tampa. They haven't been shooting very much as a team lately. Rangers decently tight at home lately, so didn't even look at anyone on the Tampa end.
No, I mean, there's some trends. Stamkos has a lot of overs in the shots, but like we said, playoff games. So you could take it for what you will. If that impacted things, but that the Rangers side definitely looks better in terms of the matchup and the numbers.
For what it's worth, I mean, this would be another I'd probably lean the under on. I stayed off, but these 2 have combined for 5 or less in 7 straight, which includes some playoff games. So maybe you view that a little bit differently, but I just found it interesting when I poked over a lot of 2-1, 3-1 games between these teams lately. So I don't expect a ton of goals, even though I did do Mika with that boost. Some really just tight games. And if it's Shesterkin is unconfirmed as of now, but I imagine he'll be in net. Certainly 2 great goalies going at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mess with the other side too much. There's not that much consistency looking through that brings much confidence on the other side. Somebody can step up and have a game, but lately just not too much. It looks like the most consistent person on that side lately is Sergachev and Hagel in terms of shots. But I like your looks in this one.
I did test out a block shots prop by myself the other day when we were talking about it Monday, and it lost. But float another one. I found Mikhail Sergachev. He was even money for 2 block shots. And in a game, I figured the Rangers would get a lot of shots. I was just doing a little digging, and not so consistent, but in 2 games against the Rangers this year, he's got 3 and 7 block shots, which I found interesting. So I'll just float that off into the universe. I'm going to just keep exploring that market a little bit because it's one I want to do once the playoffs roll around for sure. So we'll see if he comes through tonight.
Yeah, even just looking around at the Rangers charts, a few of them had some big, shot games against Tampa. So that makes sense seeing him get those block shots there. So if there's more, more of the same there, it's not a bad look.
All right, so grand finale of the night certainly looks inviting. Edmonton, Anaheim. Only 5 games left to target the Ducks. Certainly a good time to do so. I feel like I've got a whole bunch of plays touching this one. What are you seeing? Besides the fact Edmonton's probably going to score and get shots.
Oh, besides that,
No, I just mean specific guys
oh,
that you're seeing.
yeah, that it's the more I look at it, the more you just that more it looks good. I think one of the first things I looked at was just I think Draisaitl lately. I think it's a real nice price for him to get those 2 points. Even I know that you don't like paying minus money on a goal a lot of the time. He has a lot against the Ducks, but he hits those points a lot as well against them. And just recently, he's been hitting his 2 points line. So whether he scores or it could just be a quick goal from McDavid or something. He gets an assist. So that 2 points line looks really nice here at minus 125 for how he's been going lately and his history against the Ducks. And I think that just ties in with so many other plays. You know, Hopkins assist, which could be on the power play and tie in with somebody, one of these guys. That looks really good. Um, and the more I look at Nurse Point,
Hmm.
the more I just want to play that maybe even straight. He's been looking really good lately, good on the road. So there's just a lot of good looks in this one, and some prices that aren't half bad. You would think against the Ducks, maybe some of these things would be a little bit more juiced, but um, yeah, they're looking pretty good. And shots. We both like the same guy. I think we can hold off on him a little bit, save him for like the end of the segment, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, what are you seeing?
Well, back to Draisaitl. Yeah, I think um, definitely a power play edge. I don't hate the 1.5 points. I almost feel like the price is slightly better on him just to score might be the better approach. I mean, he's got what is this? 7 goals in his last 6 games. Got just had a hat trick against the Ducks. He's got 9 in his last 6 against them. Um, I wonder if that's the better approach
Yeah, if
than
you want to just
the
play
2 points.
straight goal play, I think that looks good too. Um, I know a lot, like I was saying, a lot of times you don't want the minus money, but it's hard to argue with the matchup here.
Yeah, he looks good. I did do. I they just played. What was it? 4 days ago. Um, I went back to McDavid Draisaitl goal parlay. Uh, came in at plus 220 something, I think, on FanDuel. Um, super simple play that worked the other day, so I'm just running it back. But both these guys just love scoring against the Ducks, so who am I to question that now? Um, yeah, I think Evander Kane shots was one of the first ones that popped up for me. Um, very small brained, simple. Just seeing a guy who's got 25 shots on goal on 30 what is this 37 attempts in the last 4 games, over this 3.5 number in all of them. The Ducks were under that umbrella. He had 5. He had 4 against them last year, the game prior. He was minus 110 this morning, which I just found to be a bizarre price. So similar to Matthews yesterday, I'm like, I don't know, this looks really good. I'm just going to play it and not think about it anymore. So that was one of the first ones I put in this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to argue anything against the Ducks, right? Everything kind of looks awesome against them. Um, kind of, it's hard not to go overboard right now with all these
Um,
plays. Might just need to do a same game parlay, get my fix in there. Just put all this stuff. Just put McDavid to score, Dry to score. You could put a Hopkins assist in there because it could happen on the power play. Um, maybe just so I don't go overboard with individual plays, just put a small bet on a same game parlay here. But it looks like a really good spot for it. So
Yeah, I mean, if I had bet 365, I would definitely be cooking up some kind of very intricate shot and point and goal and assist combination. Because I mean, let me bring it up. But so these teams have played 3 times this year. Edmonton's averaging 49 shots on goal per game in those 3 games. They got 6 goals in 2 straight and 5 of their last 6 against the Ducks. So, not that you need us telling you that, but I mean, those numbers are absurd. So, definitely a good game to load up something. And yeah, I thought the prices were pretty fair, surprisingly so. So, I don't hate the over here. It's not confirmed, but it seems likely. I mean, Campbell's probably going to be in net. Skinner played last night. Um, and as of now, they're projecting Gibson for the Ducks. That's about as good as it gets as a bad goalie matchup. And I think it's 7 of the last 8 meetings have gone for 7 goals or more. I think I mentioned at the top of the show, but I moved that down to 6.5 because the over's at 7 and paired with under 7.5 in Winnipeg, Calgary at plus 105. Just a simple play there. But I mean, I don't hate looking at the Duck side for some points or goals. I'm sure the value is pretty nice. They've certainly chipped in here the last couple years.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the games with the Ducks that are going over, they're putting some in. So I don't, I can see them doing something here. It makes you just feel more confident about that play. Um, man, I know we're going to talk about shots soon, but I was just talking about Nurse points, and it's really interesting. This guy, you look at his points for the season, and it's like predominantly assists, and then he's just been he's been scoring a lot recently. 4 goals in his last 5 games at plus 500. Um, I know it's a defenseman here, but hey, they can let up the shots, and I would need to bring up the chart, but see how many like the goals per game to defenseman. But they're definitely letting up enough shots where uh, that could happen. Plus 500 doesn't look awful. I mean, last show, what did we take 3 guys? We talked about 3 guys out of nowhere just to score goals. Pavelski, we're talking about him. He ended up scoring. Hintz scored. Somebody else scored too. Why not Nurse, right?
Yeah, I mean, last 10 Ducks allowing the most to defensemen. Goals, that is, and second, and most shots, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a small bet on that. I mean,
Well, I
doesn't
think
doesn't
the
hurt him.
safer path is probably just to pair Nurse's goal with him to get 4 shots. I think that comes in at plus 980. That's probably the safest approach you could take. Um,
That
maybe
would
we
be
could just
interesting.
we should just jump to picket play of the day for a second, just so we can make a more natural transition here. I hope that's okay on the back end. Uh, it's Darnell Nurse's shots, all of them, everything you can get. Go as high as you can. Uh, let, let me bring up. I sorry, my charts are not. There it is. Yeah, 3 games this year. Darnell Nurse 6, 8, and 7 shots against the Ducks. In case you haven't seen that yet, that's pretty good. Better on the road this year. So I mean, 2.5 at minus 122 is great. I put a unit on that, and then I spread out another unit on 4 shots at plus 192 and 5 shots at plus 415. He's got 4 or more in 3 of his last 5, so that plus 192 price is pretty phenomenal, especially given how much he's just obliterated the Ducks. So that's our pick and play of the day, and the goal looks pretty damn good too.
Yeah, it's he can be up and down, but I think it's more of just the opportunity here against one the team one of the teams that lets up the most shots, and then just such a good target for defensemen. So I'm okay with going to him here, a guy who can be a bit back and forth, but in in the right matchups, he's been pretty solid. See him getting that 7 against Anaheim recently. He had a 4-shot game against Arizona on the road. So liking him on the road here against a good target just looks really solid. And he should get attempts, whether a lot of them get blocked or what. That anything can happen, but I could see him getting the attempts in this one. And we could just raise his attempts up, and it's very, just makes his plays look a lot more convincing. I mean, just the last 10 times, if he got, 5 or more attempts, he's got 4 plus in 8 of those games. So, or yeah, 8 of those games. So it can anything can happen with the attempts, but in a game where he should be able to get those, I like it, especially if he can hit, um, maybe that 6 mark. If he ends on 5, it's not as good looking. But against the Ducks, I mean, he's had 6 shots on goal. So if I'm just hoping for 6 attempts in this spot, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want better with 7 attempts? If we could just imagine a world where, I mean, you look and Nurse has 7 or more attempts in 3 of his last 5 games, and against the Ducks this year, 8 attempts, 12 attempts, 7 attempts. So I don't think it's a massive leap to suggest maybe he gets 7 attempts off today. And let's just say he does. Um, when he does, he's gotten 4 or more shots in 8 straight games. Um, so again, that plus 192 price for 4, I'm not sure if it's still there. I just think that's worth grabbing. He's got 5 plus in 5 of those 8 games when he gets those attempts. So yeah, I think that value is awesome against such a great opponent, obviously.
Yep, definitely liked it a lot. The minus 122 for his 3 shots felt like before that was before the alts were up. I didn't know what we were gonna get, but I liked that play um by itself. So he even has a game recently where he had 3 shots on goal on 4 attempts. So just seems like a really good spot to back him today. And if you don't trust defensemen, there's a lot of other guys who can shoot in this game on Edmonton. So this could be a good game to try out a game stack against the Ducks.
For sure. All right, let's now jump back to best bets. I think we've covered this game quite a bit. Um, just to recap, I'm really liking Toffoli and Trouba shots. They're both at plus money. Um, I really like the volume, the history against the opponent. Um, so those are 2 of my favorites today.
I might have to do something in that game, but with the alt shots, because yeah, I don't doubt Toffoli can have the 4, but him down at 3 looks really awesome. And a couple of those other guys, Ehlers and Backlund, they look pretty solid at their 2.5 line. And if you want to play it really safe and bump them down, there was a pretty reasonable price for those 3 guys to be involved in some way. Even just 2 each, I think Griffey said was minus 116. So I'm gonna mess around with some stuff in that game. I think there's some opportunity there, and for what we're used to, nice prices for some lower lines. Normally we looking at the alt lines in a Florida game, and that minus 2 shots would be like minus 1,000 for some of these guys. So some opportunity there in that game. That's where I'm gonna look there.
Yeah, I'm so glad I stayed off that Florida game out of principle. Reinhardt was one I wanted the most. That guy's price for 2 shots was ridiculous, and he didn't even hit it. Um, so yeah, just out of principle, I there does have to come a time when you look at the prices and they're so ridiculous. Even if it hits, it just almost doesn't seem worth the risk to me. I mean, it's mostly been in Florida games. I feel like some of the prices are. I mean, yeah, this Edmonton game, like Kane, I think is minus 160 for 3 or for 4 when he's minus 110 standard. But that's not as bad as it is in these Florida games. So
Yeah.
hopefully some of you are seeing that and be like, I can't do this. This is clearly screwed up. But the Edmonton prices aren't bad tonight to go for it.
Yeah, and then in the Rangers game you were like in Truba, right? Big
Yeah,
Truba.
yeah. I may or may not have done a little lotto of Truba and Nurse to both get 4 shots and also score something just safe. Big safe kind of guy. Just go for something easy. So I might have done that. Came in, I think, at plus 30,000. So nothing crazy.
Hey,
Somebody's got to do it.
everybody's hitting those Sacramento Kings division winner tickets for plus 30,000, plus 40,000, right? Maybe it's your turn right now to just hit that plus 30,000.
It is far past my turn for something good to happen. So one of these days, I'm down for it to be tonight.
Sounds good.
All right, I think that's going to do it. Again, pick a play of the day is Darnell Nurse full ladder. So cheers to him. Thanks for joining. We'll be back Monday. Getting closer to playoff time, so it's crazy that we're already here, but we're not going anywhere. Got another 2 solid months of hockey to go. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Good luck if you join in on any of the plays, and thanks. See you guys.